Now in this video, we're going to go on ahead and replace the fork seals in our KZ400. What we'll do is we'll show you how to remove the seals, put in new seals, put in new oil, and away you'll go. So we'll get to it right now. It cleared up fairly well now. It's one of them. See if anything comes out of this other one. Now we can let those drain for a little bit. Well, now that most of the oil has been drained out of this, we'll never get it all out. We will go on ahead and put the drain plugs in finger tight just so it's not leaking all over the place. What we need to do is get the lower fork tubes off, and we do that by taking a 6mm Allen, and in this case a 6mm, and we'll use an impact wrench and we'll pop those loose, and this fork leg will be able to slide right off, hopefully. So I'm using a 3/8 drive butterfly impact. Now this may not work. We may have to just adapt up to a 1/2 inch and really crank on it. But if you have a 1/2 inch, just use your 6mm and we'll see how this goes. In this case, yeah, it's already loose. So now the fork leg can come apart. I'm going to move this. Excuse me. I'm going to put the oil over here just in case some more pops out. But here we go. There's fork oil and our damper rod. Not too hard to deal with, just a little messy. Okay, the next thing we need to do is, now that we've got the forks fairly well cleaned up, we got the fork tubes out, we now need to, there's a ring inside of here that needs to come out that holds the fork seal down, and once we get those out, we can then pry the fork seal out. You don't really need special tools to do it. You just need, I use a big screwdriver, and we'll just go ahead and do it. Use some sort of rag on your vise so you're getting oil all over everything. And we will go on ahead and we're going to pry out this little clip, and it just comes out. It's really not hard. Rag to protect your fork tube, and we'll give it a pry. Get in underneath it and out it comes. And it's just that simple. Do another one. Same thing. Get this clip out of here. At least they're oily and not rusty. Put a rag to protect the fork. And out it comes. And you can do a little bit of cleanup here, and all that we're going to do is just take a paper towel, wad it up, and I'm going to use a big screwdriver, and I'm just going to take it and gently turn that paper towel inside of there and let it do its thing. And then what we'll do is we'll take another long screwdriver and we'll just push that paper towel back out. And it's hard to see in there, but it is nice and clean, and So if you don't have a solvent tank, you can go on ahead and do something like this, and it'll help you get it cleaned up without having to do any kind of real major cleaning. Now, these forks are going to get a little bit more attention, but for changing the fork oil and servicing your forks, you can do a really good job with just a couple paper towels, a couple screwdrivers, something to turn it with, and you're all good. Get it all cleaned out, get everything as sanitary as you possibly can. This is nothing more than O'Reilly's brake parts cleaner. It's good stuff, and it's relatively inexpensive. It's $3 and some odd cents a can, and it does a great job. It works great on carbs, it works great on pretty much everything. And it is just as clean and nice in there as you could possibly ask for. I don't know if you can see, but it is really nice in there. So now the next thing we want to do is we still have our fork tubes, and these fork tubes are not in terrible shape. They're not bent. They need maybe a little bit of steel wool to get a little bit of surface rust off of some of it, but for the most part, they're in pretty good shape. We're going to install the fork seals, and the fork seals in this case are bidirectional. Sometimes there's only one side to the seal, but whenever you're installing something like this, there's lettering on top. Always go with the lettering on top. Now, as far as putting in the fork seals, you can use a socket and drive it in. There's a few ways to do it. In this particular case, I've got the proper seal driver, and all I do is just pound it in. Until you can see where the clip goes. And our clips right here, and you just snap them in, and that's all there is to it. Fork seals installed. Let's do the other one. This vise has got soft jaws on it. These will not harm anything. They're pretty solid. They're almost kind of they're not a hard plastic, but they're kind of rubbery hard plastic. Same thing here. Get it started with the hammer. I always use a soft mallet, so I don't want to hurt anything. And they go right in straight if you do it right. Grab our other. Make sure we can get these guys in. Yep, they go in. And we can now install the clip. And it just clips into position. And we're done. So now, what we need to do is we can install our fork tube. And it's very, very simple operation. Just put the fork tube in. You slide it on in until it reaches the bottom. And we have our bolts all cleaned up. And just give it a fork seals are installed. So we'll put our dust cover on. And the other dust cover. we have got a set of rebuilt forks. So now we're going to have to add some oil to this thing, and on these particular caps they have a kind of a plunger type affair with a little clip instead of a cap that unscrews. But all what we need to do, and it's a little tricky with it being in the set of front forks, we need to pull that clip while I push down on this. So I'm going to push down. Let's see if I can get that clip to pull out. Okay, now that we've got the plug out, which took quite a while, what we need to do is put some fork oil in this, and it's really relatively simple. We're going to be using something called a ratio right, and it has all sorts of graduations for ounces, cc's, and whatever. This particular fork calls for 165 cc's, so I put 165 cc's of fork oil in here. They usually want some between 5 and 20 weight. This is 15 weight, so we just pour it in. Make sure you've put your drain plugs back in and everything is tight. And there's nothing more to it than that. Just do your best to. Now it's kind of filling up as we go along. As you can see, I had to put the triple clamp on here to hold it while I was taking out that plug. It was not the simplest thing in the world to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to let that drain in there, which is done. Then what we do is we're going to just let this thing, we're going to pump this thing up and down a couple times. And let that oil get down into the bottom. Because we're going to be putting the spring in, and it's going to try and take up some room. We don't want it coming out. Now, see, this has ended up being a little harder because we had to. It's not in the bike. If it was on the bike, you wouldn't have to fiddle around with this that much. But it is what it is, and so now it looks like we've got the fluid in there. Okay, now we're going to put in the spring, and it just goes in. And be very, very careful when you do this to see if it's going to come out the top, because it's displacing some of the oil that's in there, and we just don't want to make a mess. And what I did is I've mounted the triple clamp here so I can put a clamp on there to compress it. Normally you have something that unscrews, and it's much, much easier to deal with than this. And once it gets in there, I've cleaned it and cleaned around the O-ring and everything else. So now this guy can go in. Until it bottoms. And it bottoms right there, and it kind of holds it in place. And then we will find our little clip. And we can then snap it back in. Not a lot of fun in this particular one, but it works. Clip is in. I can now move that, and we have got oil in our forks, and we are all set. Well, thanks for watching. We have successfully rebuilt our forks, put new seals in, and everything is in great shape. So we will see you next time. Please remember to subscribe. We're going to keep on giving you videos. The video quality will be improving as we go along, as I learn. So again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.